This time of year when the leaves on the trees change their colors is one of my favorites. It's so beautiful to see all the different reds, oranges, yellows, and greens that occur during this transformation. This is the inspiration for today's art project. Part 1 of our project is called a wet on wet watercolor sky because we're going to get our paper, just wet it down without a paintbrush with regular water, and we really just need to worry about the top part of the paper because the bottom part of the paper is going to get covered with our fall trees. So in part 1, we're going to need our watercolors, a brush, our paper, and a cup of water. And the first step is just like I said, wetting the paper down. By wetting the paper down, it's going to let our colors flow freely and mix with each other. You could do a regular blue sky, or you could do a sky that's being colored by the sun setting or the sun rising. That's the kind of sky that I'm painting in this example. So I'm going to use some kind of streaky, warm colors like reds, oranges, yellows, and just let those colors just paint right into the water and let them flow around and mix with each other. Make sure you paint right up to the edges of your paper so that you don't leave any of the white paper showing. We want a sky that goes right off the edges. If you have an area that's not blending together like you want it to, just go over it with a watery brush again, and that water will help the colors blend together. One other tip is paper towel. If you have a spot that you don't like, you can blot it with a paper towel and lift some of the color back off. This also works nicely for making cloud shapes in your sky. So if you want to paint it and then lift some of the color back off to make some clouds, paper towel works great. Part 2 is making our trees. So you will be using some construction paper and a black marker. And the very first thing you're going to do is just make some little dotted lines around to make the shape of your tree. After you have the dotted lines, the edge little marks, then you can go ahead and draw a vertical line right up the center of the tree, almost all the way to the top. Then we're going to start branching lines off of it to be like the tree limbs. We can make straight lines, we can have angled lines, curving lines, whatever type of branches you want to make for your tree. Normally, in nature, the branches go up and out away from the trunk. But everything, has its exceptions. Sometimes a branch goes down, sometimes it's crooked, sometimes it's broken. So there is no one right way to make your branches. We will need lots of these trees to fill up the bottom of our paper, so go ahead and fill up your construction paper. Maybe you can get 2 or 3 trees on each piece of construction paper. And you'll notice how the bottom of the tree, I've just left the flat edge of the paper. That's because we're going to be stacking up our trees, and a lot of the trees are just going to have the top showing, and the bottom's going to be covered up with a tree that's in front of it. I think it's interesting to have different size and shape trees, so that's why I'm making some tall trees, some curvy, some wide, some thin. It just gives it variety and makes it for a more interesting picture. Once you have a lot of your trees made, then you can start cutting it out. You can just cut on that dashed line. Just leave some of it on to give it a nice little edge for your picture. And you can cut them all out. And once we have them cut out, we're going to just lay them onto our painted paper and see if we have enough of them. We want to be able to fill up that space between where you painted all the way down to the bottom of your paper without leaving any white spots showing. So it's going to take a lot of them. Save your scraps just in case you didn't make enough of them. You can always add in another small tree or put in some colored paper behind a spot that needs it. All right, I'm ready to arrange my trees. I'm going to try to use variety here too, so I can kind of mix around my colors, not have all of one color right next to each other, put in different size and shape trees just to make it variety, make it interesting. Notice I started with the farthest away trees, the trees in the background. They're going to have their bottoms covered up, and then I'm going to work my way to the midground, the medium trees, and then I'm going to end with the trees in the foreground, the trees in the front. When I laid out my trees the first round, you'll notice I have a space of white paper that didn't get covered up. So to solve that, I made another little green tree and just slid it in there. Perfecto. The trees can go off the edge of the paper a little bit. That's fine. They don't have to just line up with the straight edge of the paper. Now it's time to glue. If you have enough trees and you like how they're arranged, we're going to start with those background trees. You don't have to lift everything up, just lift up the top of the tree, just kind of gently fold it over, put some glue behind there. I'm not getting glue over the whole back of the tree, but that's okay because my trees that are on top of them are going to help hold them in there. I'm not using so much glue that it squirts out the side. I'm just putting a little glue on, just enough to hold the trees in place. Once I have my back row done, I'm going to work my way forward. Now I'm going to do the next row of trees, just folding them forward a little bit to get some glue behind there, making sure that I have those white spaces of paper covered up as I lay them back down. When I get to that front row of trees, I'm going to be more careful about making a nice crisp edge along the bottom. So I want to kind of keep a nice straight edge on the bottom. On my left and right side, I'm just going to leave the curvy shape of my trees be the edge of my paper. But here in the front, I'm going to try to make a nice straight bottom edge. For these bottom ones, I can take the whole tree up and flip it over and put glue over the whole thing, since I don't have to worry about disturbing anything on my front row. This artwork really reminds me of looking out my window in the fall, out at the field and the rows of trees that are behind it. Just the happy colors, just as beautiful. Really voila, love it. Our fall tree art. I think it turned out really nicely. A finishing touch could be using your black marker to draw a few birds in the sky or something else, but I think it's lovely as is. Have fun!